August 24th, 2023, the Zoning Board of Adjustments meeting, and we'll start by giving the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Very good. I see that down there. Someone needed it.
No. Oh, yeah, it is.
Okay. The ZBA is a fact-finding body, and to grant variances, it must determine that the existence of special conditions other than solely financial, which create an undue hardship for the applicant. Positive action requires an affirmative vote by at least 4 of the 5 members. ZBA decisions are final, and recourse from ZBA decisions is to court of law. For items scheduled for a public hearing, residents will have the opportunity to comment on agenda items. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, members of the board shall not discuss, deliberate, or make any decisions on topics not posted as an agenda item. Speakers should state their name and full address for the record and address all remarks to the board. The board asks that the public remarks be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Today, we are here, let's see. Oh, we're doing our statement of officer and oath of the new officers. And we're going to start our swearing in first. Start with that first. Okay, very good, very good. Okay, so who is that you? Who are we doing this with today?
Mr. Schaffner, Mr. King, and Mr. Slaughter.
Okay, very good. To the front. I'm glad y'all got dressed. Ed's gonna take your pictures.
I'll be taking the pictures.
Are you doing it one?
Y'all just
Are you doing it one? Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Y'all all have to like each other. I state your name. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
that I have not directly or indirectly paid,
offered or promised to pay,
offered or promised to pay,
contributed or promised to contribute
contributed or promised to contribute
any money or thing of value,
any money or thing of value,
or promised any public office or employment
or promised any public office or employment
for the giving or withholding of a vote
for the giving or withholding of a vote,
at the election at which I was elected,
the election in which I was elected,
or as a reward,
or as a reward
to secure my appointment or confirmation,
to secure my appointment or
confirmation, whichever the case may be, so help me God.
whichever the case may be, so help me God.
Okay, now the oath of office. In the name and the authority of the state of Texas,
In the name and authority of the state of Texas,
I state your name,
I, Ray King,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office
that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office
of the Zoning Board of Adjustment
of the Zoning Board of Adjustment
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and the laws
the Constitution and the laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
All right, y'all are sworn in. Now get y'all to sign.
Congratulations.
Wonderful. Very good. Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda, and in your binder, we have the minutes from our last meeting that was July 6, 2023 at 4 p.m. If everyone will give those a look. And and I will,
Wait just a minute, I thought I was at that meeting. Let me look.
that's why we're looking at 'em.
I must know I was at that meeting. Let me see who the,
This was the one for the Church Street.
no, I was not.
Okay.
I was not.
Okay, yeah.
I thought, okay.
You were
Yes, I remember
vacated.
that. I was on vacation. That's right. Okay. Leave that motion a second up to the people that were actually, well, I guess they're, oh, for you not to have to make a motion?
Tricky one, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I could make the
But-
motion.
And I'll second it. That's fine.
Okay, I make the motion that we accept the minutes.
Okay, I have a motion
I'll second it.
and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, aye. All right, our minutes are approved. So we will move on to our regular agenda, public hearing. So our public hearing today is to consider a request for a variance to the zoning ordinance section 118-427A for a reduction in the minimum lot dimensions required for a proposed subdivision of Lot 7, Block 1 of the C.S. Jones subdivision, located at the southeast corner of Pearl Street and West Lakewood Street. This request has been submitted by Charles E. Poole Jr., case file ZBA 2023-07.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Juan Paulette, Planning Technician. As stated, this lot is located on the southeast corner of West Lakewood and Pearl Street and has direct access from both sides, both streets. The property has approximately 100 feet of street frontage along West Lakewood and 200 feet of street frontage along Pearl Street. The property is relatively flat with mature trees along the east and south property lines, and the property is not located within the FEMA floodplain. The subject property is zoned R4 multifamily and is undeveloped. The property has single-family residence located to the east and west of the parcel, with commercial uses to the north and multifamily to the south. The specific request is for a variance from the literal enforcement of the zoning ordinance, which may be requested whenever owning to exceptional and extraordinary conditions, the literal enforcement of the provisions of the zoning regulations will result in unnecessary hardship in the development of the property. Section 118-427A, minimum lot dimensions, is a section of the ordinance that the applicant is seeking the variance from, and the purpose is to create orderly, predictable, and effective, efficient development, safeguard and enhance property values, protect public and private investments by preventing landowners from overcrowding the property of others, and to allow for adequate spacing between the buildings for emergency access. This is the original C.S. Jones subdivision plat that was recorded in 1969 with the subject property highlighted. You have Lakewood to the north and Pearl Street to the west, and the applicant is proposing to subdivide this lot into three separate lots. This is the proposed subdivision. The applicant is proposing to construct 3 single-family homes, and the homes will face and take direct access from Pearl Street. In doing so, the proposed lot configuration creates a deficiency in lot depth. The new lots will meet the minimum building setback requirements for the R4 zoning district, which are 20 feet in the front, 10 in the rear, and 6 on either side. The specific lot depth variances being requested are between 2.5 feet for lot 1R and 7.4 feet for lot 3R. These are a couple of the examples of the styles of house the applicant is proposing to construct on these lots. and the homes will be approximately around 1,500 square feet. This is a view of the subject property from Pearl Street looking east. This is a view of the subject property from West Lakewood looking south. Staff sent out 8 notices to the property owners within 200 feet of the area. Staff has not received any written responses in favor or in opposition of the request. We did receive 1 phone call from adjacent property owner to the east with just general questions, but she was not opposed to the request. So although the variance is a self-created hardship, staff believes that this request would not adversely impact the adjacent properties and should not significantly impact the overall density of the area. The lots proposed are of developable size for single family and exceed the minimum lot area requirements for that zoning district. And this concludes staff's presentation, and we'll answer any questions from the board. And the applicant, Ed Poole, is here and would like to address the board as well. And prior to the opening of the public comments.
Okay, very well. Does anyone from the board have any questions for Juan?
I guess my questions would be directed toward you. The way I read this, and it appears to me in essence that there are 4 variances, right?
What's that again?
Are there 4 variances?
No, it's just
basically?
one variance for the lot depth of the lots. Each lot is deficient between 2 to 7 feet. The one on the north, the top lot is 2.5 feet deficient. The middle lot is 5 feet deficient, and the south lot is about 7.4 feet deficient in lot depth. But it meets the lot width and the area.
Does the current ordinance for non-conforming lots, what does it say?
For non-conforming lots, well, if it's non-conforming, it needs to have a variance as far as like in this case, it doesn't meet the dimensional requirements, then it would need a variance.
To do anything with it, you need a
Right.
variance.
We were under the subdivided. Right. As it sits in its current configuration, because it has access off Lakewood and Pearl, the Lakewood access makes it conformant because it has 100 feet of street frontage along Lakewood and 200 along Pearl.
But the original lot as platted was a legal lot, because it would have been 100 by like 200.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So because it's being divided into 3 lots, it becomes a non-conforming lot.
Correct, yes.
Because of the direction it's being divided
Right.
in.
Because if it was going north-south, we would be okay.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, but because we're going east-west, there needs to be a
It's going to be shallow.
How could you divide it northwest into 3 lots?
we would only do it.
2.
Two
She said
lots.
2 lots.
Yeah.
2
No,
lots.
she said
Okay.
2 lots.
I was going to say, I didn't think it
Yes,
would divide
she
into
said
3
2.
lots that way. The other question that I have is if this variance was granted, does the variance go with the property?
Yes.
And is there any guarantee that with that variance, that there would be single-family housing put on those lots?
There's no guarantee that single-family houses will be placed on those lots. They could put duplexes, or that would probably be the only thing because they're so small.
Right. It's the reason I'm asking is it's currently zoned R4 for
Right.
multifamily. And I'm not quite certain why there was not a request for a rezoning of it to R1, if that's the intention to build or R2, to build single-family houses.
I think, what is
Yeah.
the depth and width requirements for R1 and R2? It's
Yeah,
greater.
they're greater for R1. It's 75 feet width by 115 feet deep. R1.
You said earlier that it would work for R2.
For R2, yes.
Yes. And I don't
But
know.
R1 and R2 are buildable in R4 zoning.
Yes.
Right.
And the
Right.
reason I assume that he's not changing it is because you can build R1, single family in R4 without
Right,
having to
I
change.
mean, I understand that, but I guess my concern is that if the variants are granted and then tomorrow the decision's made to sell the property, I mean, there's no guarantee that those houses would be single-family houses.
That's correct.
Very good. Any other questions from the board for Juan before Mr. Poole presents? No? Okay. Thank you, Juan. Mr. Poole?
For the record, I'm Ed Poole. Thank you, Zoning Board of Adjustments, board members, for letting me present to you today. It feels odd to be on this side of the podium. So, anyway.
In the hot seat.
Yeah, in the hot seat. So anyway, this property has been in my family since the early 40s. And so it's not something that it was my grandfather's property and it's my father's property and now it's mine. And it has never been built on. And so my intention is to build 3 single-family residences on this property and rent them. And so that's the plan. I've given you examples of what I intend to build. Those houses are actually at 520 and 522 Burke Street, if you want to see them. They turned out really nice, and so they're great for single-family residences. This is one of those orphan tracts that we deal with. If there had been zoning and minimum lot requirements when the subdivision was put in, then it would be 200 by 100. But it wasn't. There was no zoning at the time. And so after this subdivision was put in, the minimum lot depth became 100 feet, which now it's non-conforming. It's not possible to turn it into 2 lots facing Lakewood Street because then I'd be non-conforming on lot width. 50 feet is the minimum lot width. So this is the only direction that I could turn it and make it work. Something else to note, the minimum lot width on a R4 zoning is 50 feet. These are 67. So I've gone a little bit further in the width of it than you normally have to do. The depth is my problem because it was built prior to zoning. So the reason I intend to do this is I intend to build these homes and I intend to rent them to families. But I want the freedom and the ability to sell these homes individually as single-family residences. That's why I want them on their individual lots. That's the only reason. I may not sell them. The other part to remember is that because of the zoning that it is now, I could stick three homes on this lot without asking you for anything. So this is not going to stop the building of it. It's already zoned R4. And like I said, my intention is for it to be single family. You know, if I choose to do that, I could put multiple families in each house. I don't do that in my rental properties, and I'm not going to. So I'm trying to find good, decent rentals for people coming to town that they can have a good place to live. And my intention is to keep it the family for my children. So anyway, so that's the main thing I wanted to mention to you as well, that that's the feel that I have for it. You know, I hate that it was 7 feet short, but it's what it is. And so I had it surveyed. I had the plat done to make sure everything was laid out properly so that you could see it. The idea of putting a duplex on each lot it can't be done. There's not enough square footage there. So what's going to be built is what I'm showing you right now. Do you have any questions?
I have a question just about configuration of the homes. I mean, I have an assumption from looking at the plat you've presented, but do you plan to have all these homes facing Pearl Street? Or are we going to have one facing Lakewood and 2 facing Pearl Street? Or
We talked about that, and it's not feasible to face one on Lakewood Street. It's
Okay.
just there's no depth there.
Right.
So you'd have to build a long, narrow house, and it just wouldn't fit. You know, this concept is designed to be built on a 50-foot lot. And so there's actually a little bit more space between the houses than what you see there.
Right. I'm kind of picturing the development that took place on Lakewood and North Pecan, you know, behind that shopping plaza there where those two homes were built facing
Right.
Lakewood on that side. So that's kind of what I had in my head, and I just wanted to make
Right.
sure we were on the same.
Right, and they built that third house facing Pecan.
Right, and that was on a much longer tract, right? But, okay, that was my question. Any other questions any questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
You just said that you can build 3 houses on this lot without any variance.
Right.
So why are you asking for a variance?
Well, like I said before, I want the ability to be able to sell them individually as single-family residences if I choose to do that. If it's all in one lot, I can't do that. I have to sell all 3 at one time.
So you have the ability at this point to build 3 houses on that lot,
Right,
and rent them,
right.
but you couldn't sell one of them if you wanted to sell
I
it
could
because
not
it's not
sell one
subdivided.
house unless it was subdivided, correct.
So it all hinges on the subdividing of the property.
Well, I mean, with my
Question
choice,
of
it's
selling.
not gonna stop me from building, but my preference would be to have each house on a lot, on a separate lot.
I think
And-
what he's thinking is if someone's renting and then they decide they like it and
Yeah, I
would like to
understand.
buy it, it would just be a lot easier to say, okay, we can do he can buy the property, it's already been platted, done. It's kind of a seamless transaction. Whereas if he built 3 of them, he would then be back here for a variance to do this, or he'd have to sell all 3 to an investor or something, so.
Could I ask a question of the staff?
Yes.
Is that correct, that he could build the 3 houses on the lot as it stands right now?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
It's its own multifamily right now. Did you have another question for him? Okay. Do you have any questions, Mr. Schaffner?
I do not, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Bentley?
No.
Okay. Rhonda?
No. I'm just trying to figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We'll find that out.
Because it doesn't lack much, and then it's kind of like, we don't really have a deal where we've said if it comes within 10%, you know, like we're 100 feet, if they were 90 feet, would we kind of give a little leeway, as opposed to a lot that was only 70 or 80 foot in depth?
Sure.
So we're at the less than 10, I guess I have 10% in my head.
Right.
We're at the less than 10% threshold, is kind of how I'm at.
Gotcha.
That's where
Gotcha.
my brain's going, is that
Okay.
we're at less than 10%. But I think we have to be careful that if we grant one, are we going to kind of decide as a board, which I know we really can't, that yes, we did it with the anyway, with the threshold of 10%.
Gotcha.
I guess that's where I'm looking at.
Gotcha.
Is if we do this, I don't want people thinking, oh, well, if I have a lot that's only 70 foot deep, well, they're gonna grant it.
Understood.
And because they granted one for Ed Pool,
Sure.
and I just don't want that, that's my deal. I just see that it's not that far. I mean, we're close. But-
We need to still go into the public comment.
And one is
Right,
2.5
right.
feet, the other is 5.
Well, that's,
Okay.
do you have any questions
Well,
specific to Ed
no, I guess,
about,
yes.
that goes along with that thought process? I
Well,
was
I guess
getting
that's
you,
what
but
I'm
thank
looking
you,
at.
yeah,
Yes,
sure.
it's not,
Okay.
I can see that it's.
I did have one more clarifying question, just because I know where these houses are, of course. But will you remind me of the bedroom, bathroom square footage of these homes on
3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet.
1,500 square feet each? Okay. And they all have the 2-car garage, front facing from the street? Okay, that's what I wanted to know also. Okay, does anyone have any other questions for Ed, the applicant? Okay, thank you. Okay. So we will now open up for a public hearing and allow for public comment. Hello.
Yeah, Philip Blackburn, Logansport Street, and I applaud what the applicant is wanting to do there. But I, like a lot of people, would like some reassurances, because I've seen this before. As a matter of fact, he referred to an example that happened over on Burke Street and Harris Street. It was a little different case. The applicant applied to go R4. It was currently like R1, R2, because he wanted to build single-family housing in there at a tighter density than would be allowed under R1 and R2, and the neighborhood went along with that. It sounded good. They knew the person, the applicant, thought it'd be a great deal. Well, after the person got the zone change, things changed. He decided to sell the property. Okay. Well, the next guy came along. He didn't want to build single-family residences in there. He wanted to build duplexes. And it was a big battle. Finally, we were able to get the property owner to decide to build single-family residential there. I think a good solution to this case, because maybe the neighbors don't understand, they see the plan. Maybe the people in the neighborhood don't understand that that's not carved in stone, that plan. That plan can change depending on what, life is full, the highway to hell is paved with good intentions. I know everyone has good intentions, but things change. And if this property gets sold down the road before anything's built, then they could build duplexes there. And I think the neighborhood probably wouldn't enjoy that. So maybe as a solution to this, the applicant could voluntarily downzone that to R2. If the applicant downzone that to R2, then that would confirm and reassure everyone that single-family residences will be built there. That's my suggestion.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here for public comment? No? Okay. Then I will close public comment. Does anyone on the board have any follow-up questions for the staff?
Going to what Mr. Blackburn just said, what is the setback for R2? I thought I wrote it down here and I don't see it.
The setback for
I mean, not setback, what's the lot dimension for R2?
60 by 100.
I know, but the depth, 100. So if it was voluntarily dropped back to R2, we would still be here for variance for the same 5 to 7 feet. Okay, because we would be okay on width.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Seeing that this property is currently zoned multifamily, what is the maximum density that home unit density that could be built on this property right now if he were to put duplexes on there right now in this allowable area? Like, let's not subdivide just right in this moment, apartments, anything, 2-story units. What would be the max number of units you could put on there legally conforming?
For the density for duplex, it's 5,000 square feet for one duplex building that has 2 units. So each building would require 5,000 square feet of land.
Okay.
Can't
How
do the
many
math.
square feet of land do we have on there right now?
Well, we're 202 times 100.
2,000.
So the,
I'm sorry, can Juan answer my question, please? Just one quick second.
I'm not quite sure what the acreage is. Can't quite remember,
I'm
and
at,
I
On the
can't see it
original-
on there.
I'm at 100 times 202, is that correct? Well, 100 is across here.
246, oh, 202.
So it can support up to four.
Four duplexes, that would be 8 units. So he could have 8 units total, 4 duplexes right now. And what could he do if he was doing a 2-story apartment unit?
For that, each unit would need 1,500 square feet.
So could we get a quick number on that from staff, please?
could I ask a question that's relevant to this?
Sure.
Thank you. Because I'm looking in the book, and it says duplexes for R4 are 2,500 density. You said 5,000.
Per side. Each
Per
unit
side?
is 2,500.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Is that per
Which the duplex
side?
would make 5,000.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad I asked a good question.
I asked the same thing.
Can I get a point for that?
So you could actually put around 13 units.
13 apartment,
Multifamily.
multifamily, 2-story. That would be a 2-story.
And that's assuming you could fit the parking?
Sure.
So that's a
Right.
land plan issue, but by
Right.
density could be 13.
13, so, okay, like, let's say you even took half, I'm just trying to get in my head, like, how many units could be put on there right now today, and would this change that? So, this is 67, 60, 64, 50, 62, okay, that was my clarifying question for staff. Okay, did you have another question, Mr. King? Clarifying question for staff?
Not right now.
Okay. Any other questions for staff right now?
What would it take for us to roll it back to an R2?
That would have to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they would have to approve that zone change, as well as City Council.
Okay.
They make the recommendation to City Council, and City Council will make the ultimate decision.
I don't know if this is a discussion question or a question.
So we're only in questions for staff right now.
Okay. Would this be a staff question? Do we have the authority that if we grant something, that a building permit has to be pulled within a certain amount of time?
Don't believe we do. Do you-
I didn't know. I was just asking.
To put that caveat in our, in a motion
Yes,
is
that's
your
what I'm
question.
asking. Do we have the legal?
Yeah, I
authority
think
to
she's
do that?
asking a procedural
Do
question.
we have the legal authority to do that?
I'm not quite sure.
Technically, we have the legal authority to,
To do that? I guess
Motion
that's-
through.
Okay. I just want to know.
because our board stands independent of the city.
Of the city.
Yes, that's why our appeal goes to district court, where a planning and zoning appeal would go into the city and so on. Yes, yes. Okay, any other questions for staff? No?
I guess the only other question I would have is then, if we have the authority to put that in a motion, do we have authority to put in the motion that it be a single-family homes only? I don't believe we have the authority to do that, nor do I believe we have the authority.
There has to be some limitations.
Yeah, I don't believe we
Right.
have the authority to do the
I
other
thought
either.
to reassure everyone, because I feel like Mr. Poole is being truthful with this, is that to just get some clarity is if we made the motion that if we granted this, that a building permit would be pulled within 60 or 90 days.
I intend to build two at first. I'm not gonna build the third one until a little bit later.
Okay.
So if I had that kind of requirement, I couldn't follow that.
And let me be clear, let me be
Okay.
clear, I'm not questioning Mr. Poole's honesty.
Right, oh, I understand, yes.
My concern is things happen.
Right, I totally understand.
That are out of his
Yes.
control
Yes.
and out of any of our
Yes.
control. And
Okay, let's hold this for discussion, if you will. I need a motion before we have an inter-board discussion. So, right now, we're done with our questions for the staff? Okay, thank you, Juan. And now I'll entertain a motion from the board. And we need a motion for discussion only, so.
Well, I'll make the motion for discussion only.
But you,
I need a motion.
right, a motion so that we can second it and then have discussion. So
Okay,
either
well,
for or against.
Oh,
is what-
okay, I'll make a motion for.
Okay, I need you to cite the
Okay, excuse me, all right, I will.
variance request
Okay.
in your motion, please.
Make a motion for the variance to the zoning ordinance, section 118-427, for a reduction in the minimum lot dimension requirements for proposed subdivision of Lot 7, Block 1 of the C.S. Jones subdivision located at the southeast corner of Pearl Street and West Lakewood Street.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion for the request for a variance of the zoning ordinance, section 118-427A, for a reduction in the minimum lot dimension requirements for proposed subdivision of Lot 7, Block 1 of the C.S. Jones subdivision located at the southeast corner of Pearl Street and West Lakewood Street. Do I have a second?
Second, so we can discuss it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. We are open for discussion. And this is just to remind you, this is an inter-board discussion, and we're not to address the city or the applicant whenever we have our discussion. So it's just between us here.
I'm really wondering if we should ask for a zone change back to R2, and then a zone change back to R2, and then would he still have to ask for a variance? He would still have to ask for a variance.
Yes, because the minimum lot
It's still
depth
smaller,
isn't
but
met.
at least we would have reassurance that it would be single-family residential.
It's my understanding that he would not have to ask for a variance if it was,
R2.
Just for clarification, if we did request R2, that would be considered spot zoning because there's no other R2 in the area.
there
Thank
is
you.
R1
Okay.
across the
R1,
street,
but not R2.
Yeah, no R2.
but they're both single family.
Yes.
Okay.
You're gonna leave one single family just hanging out there too.
Well, there's single family across the street.
Across the street.
This is actually a really nice blend, over here in this area, because there's the planned development for the West Meadow Drive, that's all the townhomes. And then they have the B2 section, all the R1, which there is one house in the B2.
You know, that
and then
B2
it's-
house, I don't know why that is, I just looked up 209.
Yeah, that's strange, right?
It's a house,
Yeah.
and I remember appraising that house, and I looked it up.
Yeah,
and
it
I
just
thought,
sold
why
not
is
too
that
long
thing
ago.
B2?
And then you have Villa Claire Apartments that's touching it.
Why is,
And then you have the planned development, Ridgecrest townhomes, and then you have the duplexes across the street from Villa Claire. I mean, you really have a little bit of everything.
why is West Meadow Drive still planned development? Those lots are all built out.
Well,
It was a
always been
planned
it was
development
a
when it
planned
was put together.
So it remains that way forever,
Yes.
Yes, we have several of them in Natchitoches.
even though it's completed?
Yes.
Austin Hollow is a PD, Ashbury Court's a PD.
Ridgecrest is a PD apparently, and so is University Park.
And it never changes to R1 or anything else?
No, because I think it goes back to their
It
original,
says the rules of the planned
yeah, the planned
development.
development, it goes back to what their regulations were,
They're very specific
or
in
what their
those.
criteria was to get that PD.
It's like the Sorority Road Road down at the end is planned development also.
But if we,
I guess my thing is, I don't really see the difference. I mean, to build 3 single-family homes here is to add to the continuity of Lakewood behind, except for you're facing Pearl Street instead of Lakewood. Even if he were to add duplexes, a set, or 1 duplex, 2 units on each of those 3 lots, you would mirror not directly across the street, but the properties, diagonally across the street. Those are 3 duplexes that have been there for a very long time, If you were to do multifamily housing, you would match the Villa Claire apartment homes that are right next door. Granted, they're single story, but Ridgecrest is 2-story, Greystone Townhomes is 2-story. And this area is very, very mixed development. I think this street would, I personally think this street would benefit from 3 single-family homes. I think it would also benefit from 3 duplexes. That's my personal input. And there's not a lot of lots to build to provide homes to people right now. And our variance, a variance by nature is a case-by-case scenario. So, to your point, I can see that 10% may be your standard, 5% may be Mr. Schaffner's standard. We're all gonna have our own standards and what is our best duty to the public and to the area. And so I guess we all have to decide what that is for ourselves and in this discussion. But there's, I think, again, the variance by nature is a case-by-case thing. If there wasn't duplexes across the street, single-family houses behind it, a whole business district next to it, and apartment complexes next door, I think I would feel more of an internal struggle. But I don't have much of a struggle for the idea of, okay, I want to do this. I would like to put 3 single-family homes here. Even, again, if it was 3 duplexes, so be it. But I'd like to separate them and have it lot and blocked in advance. I think that, for me, I have no struggle saying that I would be for this. And that's just my discussion.
Well, even if it's 2 single-family homes and then 1 duplex, it's still acceptable.
Yes, the zoning is
Right.
R4.
So, I need somebody to help me understand on R4. The lot depth is supposed to be 100. Let's see, the front's 20, rear 10, side 6. The lot depth is measured from street?
From the street, or the way it's platted here, it's at 99.97 on lot
Right.
1,
Right.
97.5 on lot 2, and 95 on lot 3.
Okay, but let's say that don't have the 3 subdivision, the subdivision 3. So what is the lot depth of that large lot?
202 feet on the east side and 246 feet on the west
I
side.
heard it's saying that the lot's 100 feet wide. Did it change? Or can we ask that
It's 100 feet
at the top?
wide at the top.
And
Well,
when you-
and then you have 99.97.
I know, but when
The
you-
It's not a perfect-
the parenthetical call was a deed call, was a deed call, so a surveyor is showing you what a deed called for.
Right.
And then he's showing you that he only measured 99.97
The
feet.
actuality is-
Yes,
Okay,
When it
so
was
the
platted-
actuality is this is 99.97.
instead of 100, yes.
So, I mean, technically, even on R4, the lot is not deep enough, correct? Unless you turn it the other way.
If it's subdivided with lots that front Pearl, then none of them meet the 100 feet.
Well, Mr. Poole said that he has the right now to build 3 houses on it.
Because the lot could be considered, it fronts on 2 streets, so you could say he can claim the frontage is Lakewood, and the lot depth is 200 some odd feet in the width of the lot,
Right.
which is defined at the building line, actually.
But-
Not at the property line, it's defined at the building line. But it's basically exceeds anything that would be
The
required in
frontage.
that zoning district.
But the
Thank you
depth
for
of
the reference.
lot
I'd like to
does
keep
not
the
meet-
discussion among the board, but thank you.
Well, I'm trying to get anybody to answer the question for me. If
Sure.
somebody up here can
Sure,
answer it, that's fine. If somebody from the city can answer it, that's fine too, because if they have technicalities.
Sure.
My question is the depth of the lot. It says 100 should be the depth of the lot for R4. And I'm looking on the measurements from the measurements that we were given, and 97.97 is the largest depth that I see. Is that correct?
That's what I'm seeing
Or
too.
am I looking at this wrong?
No, that's what I'm seeing as well.
So the lot is not deep enough according to the R4, because R4 says 100.
Sure, so the measured lot depth is .03.
What he's saying is he doesn't
Inch
think
off.
that he could build on it.
He
even if
doesn't
it
think
was
he can
R4.
build on it,
Right,
period.
I mean,
Right,
he-
right,
he
without
would-
coming here
He would
to
have to ask
use
for a
it.
variance, which is
Sure.
not what Mr. Poole said to us. Mr. Poole said he could build 3 houses on this right now without any approval from us whatsoever. But that still does not meet the 100 requirement for 100-foot depth for R4.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciated. It's part of a discussion. Thank you.
And I'm just trying to understand.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Well, whenever it comes to us, if we were to see this in a plat form,
Mhm.
it would say 100 until it was measured for, permit or whatever, depending
When
on
it was-
how
when
it
it was
would.
But
Platted,
would we,
Larry, when it was platted as 100-foot
understand,
lots. And I'm sure over the course of, this was platted in 1969, I'm sure over the course of widening of streets or maybe installation of utilities, he's lost a little bit on, I mean, I can see losing even a
Right.
few feet. Actually, only losing 3/10 of one at the top is pretty, I mean,
This is a result of surveying tools too. We see
Right.
this a lot in surveys
yes.
where what was used as a survey tool and
In
whatever.
69 is not.
But either way, yes,
Right.
noted for the discussion.
Larry's-
Let's get
Larry's
this,
right.
yeah,
He's
yes.
Larry's right,
Okay.
yeah.
so
very good.
my question also is this. Do we make our decisions based on plats, or do we make our decisions based on actual measurements from a surveyor? Usually.
As a board,
Yes.
whenever we,
When somebody comes to us, do we usually have a plat that looks like this with the actual surveys, or are we just going on the
so
original?
whenever we receive in the past, or what I've experienced, of course, I don't think David's ever, have you ever served on this board before? So it's just been the 3 of us on this board before. Whenever someone requests a variance and a replat, essentially what we're looking at, part of that, typically they do bring us this setup because we need to see what that replat looks like.
But we're
You know,
usually, I will
They
say-
don't ask, like, hey, I have this idea, here's a picture of a square and I want to do it about right here. This is the presentation we expect to see.
But I will say, for discussion, we very seldom come in with someone that's this close to the 100 feet. Usually, it's, their lot depth is only 70 feet or 80 feet. I mean,
Right.
I have not experienced one this close. So this is and I don't know if you have,
Right.
but usually it's
No.
something that, and then they're showing us a picture of what they're going to build, and that way they've fulfilled the setback requirements, and, we have to decide then if
Yeah.
we're going to.
And we've
grant
seen
that.
some with floating lines too. In
Yeah,
in
well,
the
they kind of
past,
show us where they would like for it to be, and then we can make a motion
for it to be
for it
different.
to be different.
Right.
But yeah, this is usually what we see.
Any other discussion from the board on this motion?
Madam Chairman, we'd like to offer a little clarification before you complete.
Okay. Is there any further discussion that y'all would like to have before,
No, I'm okay.
okay? We're open, receptive to clarification?
I'm good.
All right, very well.
Thank you. To answer two questions, if I may.
Sure.
So one is the actual survey distance is a today number, and so it is a real number. So what you need to rely on are real live on the ground certified surveys. So in this case, the dimension you're looking at is in fact 99.97 feet, even though there was a called distance. They may have well measured it with a tape measure and a wet rope, So today, the most accurate version is what they're showing you, and you need to rely on that for your dimensions. Those are conventional survey data. And secondly, if you look at the adjacent lots on Lakewood, these lots were originally kind of carved out down Lakewood. So this lot can be considered as a lot facing Lakewood with a width of now 99.97 feet and a depth of in excess of 200 feet in an R4 zoning. So that lot would be considered an R4 lot that is wider than the requirement and deeper than the requirement to build on. So I guess I'm saying that the statement that multiple R4 structures could be built there is still correct.
Very good. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, did you understand, Larry, what he meant by that? Is that now if he turned it the other way, it would be a legal lot? Because then the depth would be 100, the depth would be 200, and the width would be 100. So we would still be a legal lot
Without the subdivision.
without the subdivision.
The subdivision causes the lots to face
Right.
Pearl Street and then causes them to be non-compliant.
See, he could have done it just like this, and he would have been fine, because he would be 200 feet this way and 100 feet deep. And he's only, 200 feet deep and 100 feet wide.
To put 3 houses on it?
Yes, because he could go, you could probably, I've seen him do a shared driveway.
A shared driveway to the
He
back.
could have done a concrete
Yeah.
driveway right up to the north side of that, where they come in the back there, like they do on East Austin. Those are all, you come to the back of a lot of those in East Austin.
Yes.
You come around the back and park into those, which townhouses are
Huntington
those?
Circle.
Huntington Circle.
Huntington Circle and
Yeah, you come in, they have a
3500
shared
Applebee
driveway in
Stand,
the back, and everybody
4300
comes in.
Applebee Stand.
And
So,
if you,
yes.
if you did that, you would still call them, the access off of Lakewood?
Yes, then you would have, no, you would have, well, it depends. He could
You
have them
address
turn
them where
in-
they're facing.
Yes, he could have them turn in off of Lakewood to the back of the units and then pull in. And they would face Pearl, but now that's that's just how I'm looking at it. You
Right,
could
how
have
you
it-
would break it up.
Yeah, you could have a driveway right here, and he could have them all facing Pearl, and it would be a legal lot to do those 3, yes.
Yeah.
Understand now what Steve is. saying.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? Okay. I will call a vote for the approval for the request for a variance to the zoning ordinance section 118-427A for a reduction in the minimum lot dimension requirements for proposed subdivision of Lot 7, Block 1 of the C.S. Jones subdivision. All those in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries, or motion is approved. All right. Okay, all that being heard and the conclusion of our agenda, we are adjourned. Thank you.